We've got Nick Parsons, who's Head of Market Strategy at National Australia Bank, who joins us on the show from London. Now, Nick, to begin with, Evangelos Venizelos is trying to cobble together support to form a government. But tell us, what are the chances that Greece will indeed have to go for a re-election? And also, should that happen, how should we expect the markets will react?
For calling Greek elections, as we've seen over the last week, is exceptionally difficult. The best one could perhaps hope for is that if there were to be a minority government formed, led by someone who finished third in the polls with just 13.8% of the popular vote, that it could stumble on for some weeks and some months. But it'd be very unlikely to see that that would be able to continue until 2014. And I think any relief for markets would be temporary at best and would do very, very little to resolve the uncertainties or calm the volatility that we've seen over the last few trading sessions.
Now, Nick, do you expect that if Greece does indeed go back to the hustings, the outcome of the next elections could be more in favour of the anti-austerity parties?
Well, we can think of the Greek elections that we've just had as a little like the first round in the French presidential vote, because there, of course, there were 10 different candidates. There was lots of scope for tactical voting. There was lots of scope for people to use their vote as a protest rather than as their final definitive say. And ultimately, when it came down to the just two choices between Monsieur Hollande and Monsieur Sarkozy, then they were forced to take the whole process a little more seriously. And I think there are parallels there with Greece, that the first election, or indeed what was supposed to be the main election, did produce that kaleidoscope of results. And it may well be that a second election does produce a more definitive vote one way or another. The problem is that, economically speaking, the choices facing the Greek people are rather like asking them, do you want to be hung or shot?
Now, Nick, many people argue that Greece is better off leaving the euro, but should it ever come to that, can we expect to see some of the other peripheral countries coming out openly and taking on the EU against austerity measures? Could that also somewhere signal the beginning of the end for the single currency?
Well, we don't think that Greece coming out of the euro is the start of its breakdown into its component parts. However, other people most clearly do. And there will be a period of very, very destabilising volatility. Our take on this is that the euro can't begin to recover until Greece leaves it. In other words, the Greek exit would be the catalyst for policymakers in Europe to circle the wagons, as it were, to have to protect what is left. And we believe that the euro will be formed still of at least 15 separate nation states, that we will see policy responses, we will see, if not unification bonds, then I think we'll certainly see some primary buying in the bond market from the European Central Bank. We will see a more proactive mandate for the European Investment Bank. We'll see more of an emphasis on growth rather than austerity. And I think a Greek exit from the euro would actually produce all of those positive responses.
Nick Parsons, many thanks for coming in on the show with your perspective really on the outlook for Greece and the numerous challenges that the country over there faces.